Good evening. My name is Mary, and welcome to day number 28 of Bedtime Bible Stories for all ages. And today's story's title is Joseph in Prison. The men who bought Joseph from his brothers were called Ishmaelites. I'm going to say it one more time because some words are challenging for me with my second language. Ishmaelites. I guess now I said it right. Okay, so the men who bought Joseph from his brothers were called Ishmaelites because they belonged to the family of Ishmael, who, you remember, was the son of Hagar, the servant of Sarah. These men carried Joseph southward over the plain that lies beside the Great Sea on the west of Canaan. After many days, they brought Joseph to Egypt. The Ishmaelites sold Joseph as a slave to a man named Potiphar, who was an officer in the army of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Joseph was a beautiful boy, cheerful and willing and good at anything he undertook. His master, Potiphar, became friendly to him, and after a time he placed Joseph in charge of his house and everything in it. For some years, Joseph continued in the house of Potiphar, a slave in name, but in reality, the master of all his affairs and ruler over his fellow servants. Potiphar's wife, who at first was very friendly to Joseph, afterward became his enemy, because Joseph would not do wrong to please her. She told her husband falsely that Joseph had done a wicked deed. Her husband believed her, was very angry at Joseph, and put him in prison with those who had been sent there for breaking the law. How hard it was for Joseph to be charged with a crime when he had done no wrong, and to be thrust into a dark prison among wicked people. But Joseph had faith in God, knowing it would all come out right. And in the prison, he was cheerful, kind, and helpful, as he had always been. The keeper of the prison saw Joseph was not like the other men around him, and he was kind to Joseph. In a little while, Joseph was placed in charge of all his fellow prisoners and took care of them, just as he had taken care of everything in Potiphar's house. The keeper of the prison scarcely looked into the prison at all, for he had confidence in Joseph, knowing he would be faithful and wise. In doing the work given to him, Joseph did right and served God. And God blessed Joseph in everything. While Joseph was in prison, two men were sent there by the king of Egypt because he was displeased with them. One was the king's chief butler, who served the king, his wife. The other was the chief baker, who served him the bread. These two men were under Joseph's care, and Joseph waited on them, for they were men of rank. One morning, when Joseph came into the room in the prison, where the butler and the baker were kept, he found them looking quite sad. Joseph said to them, "Why do you look so sad today?" Joseph was cheerful and happy, and he wanted others to be happy, even in prison. One of the men said, "Each one of us dreamed a very strange dream, and there is no one to tell us what our dreams mean." In those times, before God gave the Bible to men, he often spoke to men in dreams. And there were wise men who could sometimes tell what the dream meant. "Tell me," said Joseph, "what your dreams were. Perhaps my God will help me understand them." Then the chief butler told his dream. He said, "In my dream I saw a grape vine with 3 branches. As I looked, the branches shot out buds, and the buds became blossoms, and the blossoms turned into clusters of ripe grapes. And I picked the grapes and squeezed their juice into King Pharaoh's cup, and it became wine. I gave it to King Pharaoh to drink, just as I used to do when I was beside his table." Then Joseph said, "This is what your dream means. The 3 branches mean 3 days. In 3 days, King Pharaoh will call you out of prison and will put you back in your place, and you shall stand at his table and give him his wine, as you have given it before. But when you go out of prison, please remember me and try to find some way to get me out of this prison. I was stolen out of the land of Canaan and sold as a slave, and I have done nothing to deserve being put in this prison. Speak to the king for me, so I may be set free." Of course, the chief butler felt very happy to hear his dream had so pleasant a meaning. Then the chief baker spoke, hoping to have an answer just as good. "In my dream," said the baker, "there were 3 baskets of white bread on my head, one above the other, and on the topmost basket were all kinds of roasted meat and food for Pharaoh. Then birds came and ate the food from the baskets on my head." Joseph said to the baker, "This is the meaning of your dream, and I am sorry to tell it to you. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days, by order of the king, you shall be lifted up and hanged upon a tree, and the birds shall eat your flesh from your bones, as you are hanging in the air. And that was the word of the Lord. Now I will share with you the questions. The first one says, why did Potiphar put Joseph in charge of his house? Number 2, why wouldn't Joseph do wrong to please Potiphar's wife? Number 3, why was Joseph cheerful in prison? Number 4, how did Joseph know what the other prisoners' dreams meant? And that was the end of chapter 28. Thank you again for listening to another day. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.